Assalamu alaikum and hi viewers, this is Sajad Hussain and you are watching my YouTube channel. Welcome to today's discussion, which is very important because I am going to discuss with you two important aspects of a Greek tragedy, Oedipus Rex, and the two important aspects or topics are Oedipus Rex as a Greek tragedy and Oedipus as a tragic hero. First of all, let's discuss Oedipus Rex as a Greek tragedy. According to Aristotle's definition of tragedy, a tragedy is an imitation of an action that is serious, complete, and of certain magnitude, in language embellished with devices like peripety and anagnorisis, which serve to invoke the feelings of pity and fear. Now, if we apply this definition to Oedipus the king or Oedipus Tyrannus, which is the Greek name of the play, we find out that all the parameters and all the requisites of a Greek tragedy are abided by. In fact, it was this play that was studied by Aristotle, and using it as an example, he elaborated important features of tragedy. So let's discuss how much extent these features as outlined by Aristotle are there in the play. According to Aristotle, tragedy is an imitation of an action that is serious and complete. When we study the play, we find out that the action is serious because it involves the downfall of a renowned king, of a very popular king, of a king who enjoys great respect among the subjects, and from the peak of prosperity and from the peak of fame and from the peak of popularity, he falls to the bottom of anonymity, he falls to the bottom of infamy, and he falls to the bottom of misery and poverty. By the end of the play, from a renowned king, he turns out to be a helpless beggar. So, this is what makes this play serious, and it is complete because the plot has a proper beginning, middle, and end. All the incidents and all the events are logically connected, they are interwoven, they have a proper sequence, they have a proper coherence, and by the end, we get a complete picture of the details. The action is of certain magnitude. Yes, it is a play that starts in the morning, and the end by the end of the day the action is completed, which means that the action is neither very long nor very short. If we apply that concept of unity of time, which is referred to and which is associated with Aristotle, though different critics have certain reservations as to the authenticity of that unity of time, but if we apply that to Oedipus, we find out that the play abides by that unity of time, and the action is completed inside 24 hours, inside one circuit of the sun. Peripety and anagnorisis are there in the play. Anagnorisis is awareness, anagnorisis is the reality, the realization that dawns on the tragic hero, and because of this realization and because of this truth that is revealed to him, there is the reversal of fortune, there is peripety. And in the best type of tragedy, according to Aristotle, peripety and anagnorisis and peripety occur simultaneously, occur at one and the same time, and this is what we see in Oedipus the king. Oedipus comes to know who his real parents are. He comes to know the sins that he has committed against his parents. He finds out that he has committed parricide and incest, and after this realization, after this awareness, he runs after Queen Jucaste, who has already hanged herself, and out of desperation, out of frustration, he blinds himself with the sturds that he takes out from the robes of the dead queen. So he becomes blind, and this is how a reversal of fortune takes place. So peripety and anagnorisis are there in the play, and these devices of language, these embellishments of language result in feelings of pity and fear. We feel pity for Oedipus. His tragedy had started even before his birth, and he tries his best to avert his downfall, but all his efforts prove to be null and void, and all his efforts turn out to be in vain. The more he makes an effort to avoid the two horrible sins that are destined to him, the quicker he does and commits those sins, and this is what shows that he does not have free will, and fatalistic element is there in the play. So feelings of pity and fear are also invoked. We feel fear when Oedipus talks to Tiresias and Chiron and Jucaste, and he is sinful of sacrilege, he is sinful of religious contempt. We feel fear when Oedipus talks lightly about the oracles. We feel fear when he ultimately blinds himself, and we feel fear when he cries in anguish and pain. So feelings of pity and fear are there, and these feelings of pity and fear result in catharsis of the audiences, result in catharsis of the readers. And how that catharsis is achieved, this is something that the readers always find difficult to comprehend. Catharsis is achieved because the readers or the audience who are present in that theater feel a sense of similarity, a sense of identity with Oedipus. And when they find out the suffering of Oedipus, which seems to be somewhat undeserved, though he has his weaknesses and he has his drawbacks which contribute to his suffering, but his tragedy was already destined and already fated to him. So when the readers realize that Oedipus is having harsh treatment by the hands of fate, they try to find out and they try to identify themselves with Oedipus, and they start thinking that they are not the lone sufferers in this world. There are people like Oedipus whose suffering is much greater than their suffering. So in this way they have catharsis, in this way they have purification, in this way they have satisfaction, in this way they cleanse their hearts, and this is how tragic pleasure is achieved, this is how tragic end is achieved. Viewers, I hope this aspect of this Greek tragedy is clear to you. Now let's move on to the second important aspect, which is Oedipus as a tragic hero. Oedipus is a tragic hero, and there is no doubt about it, because according to Aristotelian concept of tragic hero, a tragic hero must be a man of renowned birth, he must be a man of eminent birth, and this is what Oedipus is. He is a renowned king. But according to Aristotle, a tragic hero should have error of judgment, should have misplaced judgment, should have misjudgment or misperception. He is not able to perceive things properly, and this in Greek language is called hamartia. This is called tragic flaw. So Oedipus does have that tragic flaw. One thing that you need to keep in your mind regarding tragic flaw is that it is not a depravity, it is not a vice, it is not an evil that the tragic hero suffers from. In fact, it is a weakness, it is a shortcoming, it is a drawback that a character develops over the years, and this drawback or this shortcoming brings about his downfall. And it is also called hubris, which means pride, and pride seems to be the dominant aspect of Oedipus's temperament. We find out that he is proud and he is arrogant. He is proud because he saved the people of Thebes in the past from that monster named Sphinx, and he is proud of the fact that he has more knowledge and he is more aware of different things, and this pride reflects through his speech when he talks to Tiresias. It is there when he talks to Creon in harsh words. This is there when he talks to Jucaste, and this is there even when he talks to Caragos. So Oedipus is proud and he is arrogant, and when he is blind by the end, this pride and this arrogance is very much there. He talks to Creon and he shows his authoritative nature and asks Creon to lead him out of the city, and Creon has to remind him that he is no more the king. God's will has not been revealed to him, so he cannot act before it, and he will act accordingly. And Oedipus's pride reflects when he recognizes his daughters. He tells Creon that though he is blind, yet he can recognize his daughters by the tone of their voice. So this pride remains intact even when Oedipus is blind, even when he has lost everything. And along with this pride, there are other weaknesses in Oedipus's character like rashness, impulsiveness, anger, suspiciousness, which contribute to his tragedy. The viewers need to understand that there is a difference between what is the real tragedy and what is the fate of Oedipus. It was fated to Oedipus that he would kill his father and marry his mother. But as far as tragedy is concerned, his act of blindness, that self-imposed blindness, is tragedy. And had he wanted, and had he acted rationally and logically, had he acted on the advice of his near ones and dear ones, perhaps he could have averted this tragedy of self-imposed blindness. Viewers, I hope today's discussion is fruitful and everything is clear. Thank you very much. Keep watching, keep following.